So
still gotta come from somewhere.
I just get a little nervous when I'm supposed to have the money there for all these expenses and, you know, it's just not coming in. We still have the month of September for taxes, but people are paying full year right now, which is good. But the money is going out faster than it's coming in. We don't always have a great carryover. And in March, if everybody's paying full year now, we're going to be hurting worse because we won't have that money flow in March. And we've got a lot of stamped warrants, drainage that a lot of this money is
tied up in.
There has been discussion that should we be just selling off some stamped warrants?
Well, we talked about that a couple meetings ago, that if that comes to that point, we can do that. You guys made that.
They're good investments for us.
Right. So we want to hang on to it as long as we can.
Yeah.
But you did make that where between Chris and I, we can discuss that and sell off if we need to. Think about that
How much do we have in stamped warrants?
Almost 600,000 right now.
Plus we got how many coming?
Yeah.
We have DD1, which is $500,000 coming,
And I'm not, you know, speaking against secondary road if this is the equipment they need, but people don't always understand when they see this.
Before you get in trouble, you should.
That's what I've been trying to tell everybody.
Almost have a moratorium on
It'd be nice to have the equipment that's up and running and new, but we sometimes have to wait a little while before we get new.
What's the time delay when you say it now? When do you expect the equipment?
We would probably have to pay for the chassis, so $111,000. Let's see, probably 90 to 120 days, somewhere in there. The balance of it wouldn't be until probably February or March. So we're looking on as far as the cash outlay, 100%.
When would you receive the equipment?
Not until February or March. After March.
So what would happen if one of your main equipments that you need broke down and you needed to replace that? Would you have money to be able to replace something that you actually need? Or is this snowplow something you need today?
Well, it's not to be ready till February anyways.
Yeah.
Most of that. I mean, what would have to happen is, do you have a spare truck now?
Yeah.
Then you'd have to repair the older one.
How old is the old one?
2004, did you say?
The oldest one has 500 and just about 600,000 miles on it, so it's junk. Absolute junk.
And that's good for what they put. What snowplows are.
What, did I miss something, Terry or Bill?
Carl indicated you had $215,000 in your secondary road.
Okay. Yeah, so by the time that payments are due, should be in good shape.
Julie's concern was that we don't have a huge fund balance as a whole, and so if we're going to spend that money now, we don't have a lot extra. So is it something that's absolutely needed right now, or can it wait? That was where she was coming from.
Sure.
The river that feeds the ponds is getting drying up.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you know, by the time the payments are due, it could be several months from now. Our secondary road fund balance is really good for this time of year.
It actually is. Normally at this time of year, they have a fund balance of around $50,000.
Right. So we're pre the transfer, pre-taxes.
We talked about that last year.
Right.
I wanted them to build up their fund balance, so that, and they did, which is good.
Well, our carryover fund balance was far more than projected too.
Right.
That helped on top of it.
Yeah.
The problem is our general fund
So
balance.
my theory is we're not the problem.
No, exactly. You're not, that's what I was getting at. You guys aren't the problem. What can you do to help?
And that's where I'm coming from. I'm not saying anything against secondary road, it's just, we've got an issue that we need to look at.
Well, last year when we talked about it, we talked about not sort of borrowing from other funds for our purposes, just to keep our, operating budget functioning. So we had a better carryover balance, and this fits within our budget. It fits within our fund balance. It surely will by the time we get to the time where the bills are due. So
Hopefully now that our public safety center is up and running, we'll have some cash flow coming from that also, from another county.
Yeah, but that'll
That
be used to
doesn't
make
go in.
the payments for it.
Yeah, that doesn't,
I mean, it's gonna help, but,
Carlo,
That is-
the courthouse here.
That is very questionable. I would not
Well,
bank on that.
No, but.
we don't even take our own.
We are meeting tomorrow, but that is, I would not think you've got revenue coming in because it is far from,
Oh, as far as Hancock goes,
that is not a,
we're saving money already as far as our own.
that is not a lockdown deal.
Yeah, unfortunately, between the courthouse and the public safety center, we've dried up.
I guess after reviewing their fund balance and the timeline required for payments on some of this stuff estimated, I guess I would support it.
To the motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
A motion from Derby and second from Stensrud to approve the purchase of the dump truck body and snow equipment totaling $270,105 for the Secondary Road Department. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
I just wanted to see what.
resolution to reflect your motion.
I didn't know Andy was gonna stick around for number 8, so can we move that up?
Number 8,
Get going.
discussion with possible action reclassification of DD 21.
All right, well, I have the two estimates, one from WHKS and one from Jacobson Westergaard, and they are so close, so close. WHKS has a lump sum fee of $15,000. Jacobson Westergaard has a fee of $14,430. They've got the ag land separated at $2 an acre, and the town parcels at $10 an acre because it involves the city of Brake. So here's both of their proposals, and you can go from there. I had to double check. I'm like, oh, they're very close.
A little smaller district this time.
Yeah. Can I talk about DD 21 in this matter?
I wouldn't see why not. It's on the agenda.
Isn't that what it is? DD
No,
21?
it's DD 21,
Yeah.
but she's gonna talk about,
Reclass.
not the reclass.
Not the reclass.
No, she's getting the same.
I'm gonna go on to number 9. Yeah, so I won't,
Would you like to
no.
preface this subject with discussion on 9?
Yeah, so I'll just wait till number 9.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Any reason we shouldn't take the lower bid?
I don't think so. At this point, it saves money. They're both qualified, just the dollar amount.
Timely fashion, anybody that can
Same.
start.
I gave them both the same. I just want it to be able to bill out next June, so that does help our cost because they have all winter to do it.
Mhm. So there's a big timeline crash or
Yeah,
difference.
no, and I give both the exact same information,
Yep.
so.
I suppose we just gotta take the lower one, I guess.
Want to come back at $1? I'm just kidding.
No.
Yeah,
Can I just offer food for thought, if nothing else? Talking to the expert in our company about this and stuff, and he was saying how there's not a real set way of doing these things. There's so many different factors that can be considered when you do these things. Like what, for my information?
Mm-hmm.
You could look at strictly an area basis for classifying. You could look at area plus distance from outlet. You could look at wetness factors. You could look at land slopes. There's a lot of different variables, but there's really no guidelines for anybody to look at. So you can, you got so many variables.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's subjective then.
Mhm.
It is, and it's really dependent on that engineer, what he decides to do, unless the commission itself.
But we can reference the last one that we did
Right.
in one.
And so far, this company is the same as INS has done in the past for some reclasses, which the board has approved of.
But if you don't know what, I mean, do they tell you what variables they're using to apply? Okay.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
that'd be awesome if we could get that so we knew what variables to apply, because that would obviously
Not
affect
betting
our.
on apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying,
In the
yeah.
specs.
Public information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you could just call them. I don't know why you couldn't just call them.
Well,
I don't know.
are you saying in the bid proposal specs that you get from us, it should include what those parameters are?
Yeah, if we knew what you guys wanted to use for variables to determine benefits.
Oh, you determine that.
Well, that's what I'm
Well,
talking
now,
about.
their variables and their variables, you know, they may be doing a lot
Yeah, I
more.
think we need to probably put something in there to
I don't
keep
think-
apples for apples.
Are we qualified though to?
We
Well, I
just
know
go off
when
on past
McClure
ones.
did it, that they use a totally different formula. And in the end, it probably winds up to be about the same, but it's completely different philosophies. You know, there's nothing spelled out in the code that says you should do it this way or that way, or what you should use.
So, yeah, it's kind of hard. I mean, we could do bare bones, okay, we're gonna just do distance from outlet, and that's all we're gonna look at. We're not gonna look at anything else.
They look at a bunch of different things.
Well, yeah, but.
Yeah,
But they may not be, yeah, I mean, it's.
but in the
that last
reports,
report,
yeah,
there
it's,
was- They said it in a different way than INS did,
uh-huh,
but it included.
yeah.
And if it's not spelled out, one company could have a cost, on this one here, some company could have a cost of maybe 8,000 and one 5,000.
Using one
Yeah, one
factor.
factor, yeah. It's
So,
obviously.
and I can give you copies of both of those
That's
reports,
fine.
like one from INS and then the one from the Jacobson Westergaard, and that would give you a clue as to what we have been seeing.
Sure.
that
Yeah,
make
no, that
sense?
sounds
They,
fine.
they
It's
put
just,
a value to each qualifier, I guess, by the parcel.
each benefit factor you use has a cost associated, because you gotta go through motions to apply that.
Right.
You know, and each company, you know, when you have a grand formula, you take all those factors and, you know, apply it. So that's just what I'm getting
And
at.
they do the soil type, and that's a point factor.
So maybe for the next one, we need to at least identify that the engineer that is bidding this needs to give us what his proposal includes as far as factors involved.
Yeah, or if you guys wanted to say you need to use these as a minimum set of factors to use to, you know, if you got.
I'm not qualified to repeat those. You know what I mean?
No, that's fine.
But-
It gives us a vetting process. Do we want to go with one that has fewer factors involved, or do, you know, that's the risk.
And I want to do what's best for the landowner
Right.
as far as their assessment. That's
But
all
that's
I,
purely subjective too.
Do you have a copy of one of your,
I'll have to get something,
maybe you can have your guy email me one that he's done,
or we could,
and I can vice versa and send you the,
or we could list out like the factors and what it means, kinda, and then you just kind of ponder them. I don't know.
because I would need Mark's help to figure out what all,
Yeah,
some of that even means.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm throwing it out there. 'Cause
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, because what you're bidding on could be different than what they're bidding on. So,
Yep, okay.
Makes sense.
That's all I had to say.
good point.
We know there's more coming.
Yeah.
So I think for the next one, we try
Yeah.
to identify more things in it,
Yeah.
specs.
Mhm.
That sounds fair enough.
Okay, we'll get you that.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Andy.
You want to?
Make a motion to go with Jacobson Westergaard for the reclassification of DD 21 for $14,430.
I'll second the motion.
Motion Gensel and second from Derby to go with Jacobson Westergaard for the reclassification of DD 1 for $14,430. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And on there was an agreement with Jacobson Westergaard too, if you could please fill that out. Oh, thank you.
I think you made a good point. We don't want to get cooked sometime on any of these.
Oh, right.
We want
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah, no, yeah, we may take the lowest bid and it may be by far
Right.
worse.
No, that was
Yeah, no.
something I'd never even thought of. I just figured they all did it the same, so.
Well, I've heard from, Jacobson Westergaard's the last one that brought it up, that you don't want to go with just one factor.
I don't think so. And in looking at it like INS and then Jacobson Westergaard, they were pretty much the same, and that's what I liked.
Pretty much the same and a cheaper price.
I thought they presented them different though.
They did, but got to the same
End result.
answers, yeah.
Okay, you wanted to jump right to number 9 or?
Well, I don't know, do you need to do number 5? Or I don't know where we're at.
I can wait till the end too.
I don't care, whatever you guys do.
We can get rid of Chris.
All right, let's go to the auditor's office. We'll discuss drainage matters and we'll get her.
Okay, we'll get rid of Chris then. Okay, on this DD 21 lat 10.
That's number 9. This is regular drainage matters.
Oh, sorry.
Anything for,
No, I'm good.
we're all good for that? All right, we got that out of the way. Then we'll move on to number 9.
Okay.
Discussion on resolution for tree roots and grass blocking drainage tile systems.
Yes, because DD 21 lat 10, it was over $20,000. So I sent a letter, well, it was over 10. So I sent an informational letter to the landowners saying that you're going to have to pay. And then we came to you to do the reclass because it's not separated by laterals. So I've had 5 landowners call. One was very belligerent. The other 4 were just wanting to know, why do they have to pay? Because the land that's owned by conservation was not kept up, and the trees grew, weren't taken care of, and the roots caused the problem. Why are they having to pay to fix this tile?
What was the bill for?
To replace $420 feet of 18-inch tile, and it was $10,528.
It's that open ditch. It was in the Guam Wildlife.
Yeah, the tile is in the,
In the Quam Wildlife.
yes,
10,000?
yes, 10,528.
There's trees growing again in there over.
So I guess I don't understand why we're not billing them for that.
Because we haven't in the past. I don't know when trees are the problem sometimes,
But we
so
just
when there's
discussed
a,
it that way.
we just
Well, we've
haven't
never- it's-
followed
from what I
through.
understand, it's never been, it's always the drainage district takes care of people's tree roots.
So,
Not on Olson Farm, up there in my district. The one in Norway.
west of 69, wasn't it?
Maybe some posters.
So that's my whole thing is we need to do this. We need to make the landowners accountable. These people are, the one guy is going to be waiting diligently by his phone for my return
So
call.
why do we need a resolution if it's part of state code?
Because we've never followed it. So I don't know how to police it. I don't know how to, do we just say, yes, we're gonna start this now?
Start here.
Today's the
But if we
day?
did it before, we've got precedents we've already set.
So that's just what I want, is some direction on
To me, if
how
you're
I'm
not
gonna be doing
using
this.
your, whether it's your buffer strip or whatever, and you plug a tile, that's your responsibility. And so
So
just,
this bill, I've already paid because the bill came in and then I sent the letter. So then secondary roads owes it back to us and then there is no bill, so then we're reclassifying it. Conservation, sorry. Sorry, conservation.
No,
So conservation should get the bill.
I think so.
Then we didn't need to reclass this district because then there was no work done. See how that's all
that
playing out now?
But there will be,
There'll be the one that we have
south,
to
that's
allow.
21 also.
Yeah, that's lat 8.
So,
And that's by far fewer people. That lateral is only this long and lat 10 is huge. So,
it's still good.
which is fine, because it needs to be done. So, and we're gonna get it done for relatively cheap.
No, I remember what you were talking about, Mike. I remember
Yeah,
that we
but the
did.
names aren't the same, no, on this platform, for some reason.
it is, that's my mistake. This whole thing happened quicker. Colin was gonna call me when he was gonna do it, and I never heard the bill.
And then all of a
So I
sudden
saw
they were
it that
there.
week, and
Yep.
It was, yeah,
Sonora Hole.
Sonora Hole.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good
She
one.
had to pay too.
Yeah,
There-
so there is precedent.
So we have done it. So then I need to figure out a way. How do I know it's the tree roots? When somebody calls and they have a tile problem, and then we call a contractor and we
We
fix
will.
In the
it.
minutes that we discussed this.
we almost all, like when we do drainage things, we decide whether it's tree roots that we think is plugging it, and sometimes you might find difference in, but once until you've done the work, you don't know what really did it.
Mhm.
It's-
I just want to know for future because I
think
feel
if it ends up
bad that I
tree
have
roots
all these
plugging it,
people
and
that are
it's-
mad.
it's neglect on the landowner's part, no matter who it is, they should pay for it.
Needs to be, I suppose you guys gotta let her know right away when you realize that,
Yeah.
so that it gets to the,
Because you
Well,
won't give me
this
a
one-
four-wheeler.
This one here
I will.
has known it was been tree roots since the beginning, since Terry Hewitt went out there and opened it up himself.
Okay.
Everybody knew this was tree roots.
Well, then I feel bad because I should have realized this and not ever.
I was gonna talk to you before the billing was done, that maybe we should just bill.
But we paid the bill, we haven't billed it to the landowner.
Oh, no. The district is not the
Just got a
bill.
letter on it, and
Mhm.
I know which one was belligerent too. But it didn't matter whether he was belligerent with me or not. My decision was, what I thought was fair is whoever does not maintenance trees over a district line should pay.
So if this has been going on for a long time, why are we not on conservation to get this taken care of?
I was at a meeting, you were at the same meeting, at the conservation meeting, that they.
And obviously it didn't get done, so then what's our next
But they don't
recourse?
have it in their budget.
I don't care then. So then
They, can conservation do a stamp warrant just like
No.
anybody else?
No.
Yeah, so they have to pay for it right
Mhm.
up front. And they did not have,
But maybe they shouldn't be buying more land if they can't afford to.
The last
You're
land they
preaching to the
bought,
choir.
the last land they bought was a replacement land for some of the ITC.
right, and that was paid for. And I do realize they get land donated. I get that.
there are people that just wanna do.
They like conservation.
Yep.
Sure.
And if they own the land, we can't tell them.
So then what has to happen? And I don't know what,
Well, it sounds like it's already in the code.
I know,
Something needs to happen,
I
doesn't
got
it?
nothing to do with this.
I mean, does he need to find some volunteers? Does he need, what does he need to do to keep up
You
his
have to
land?
Call Swarth on that.
Get his foundation working really hard fundraising for that rather
Yep.
than his new facility.
And, yeah, so,
March 15th should take care of that, January to March. if we can see that and start taking the bull by the horns, way.
Oh, you mean at budget time?
Yes.
Okay, I'm like, what's happening in January? So for now,
We only have to allow enough.
We just do our process and we bill them for it.
so I am going to talk to Robert, and he's gonna end up paying this bill. And he will refund the district at this point, because that's who's,
And also, Colin did not call me, there was also a private tile in there that he was supposed to have looked at, it did not.
and that
As far
didn't get done.
Unless he did it and didn't say anything about it.
So anyway, that was my concern. I didn't know what to do.
So like the one,
What?
No, you go ahead. No, he was just saying his hands are clean or something like that.
Well, they're not clean.
I have nothing to do. Absolutely nothing.
He's as pure as the wind-driven snow over there.
like the one straight north of Thompson, that roughness, basically just dug an open ditch.
Branch hit on the grade.
Yeah, I mean, it's DNR owned, I believe, now. Then get billed directly to the DNR.
They are working on the funding for, they applied for money to do all of that themselves.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seems I remember right, they were pretty
I
good
haven't
about
heard
that.
back from Lynn whether they got approved. I know part of it was a for sure, the other part of it, the investigation part of it, was gonna possibly be paid by them too. So they're working on that.
So yeah, we can just all have the good communication and tell me when to bill somebody privately or whatever.
The question could be, say, a homeowner, you know, like, say the one in town in Thompson, that's plugged in the middle of the street, could have been his tree, could have been his tree, you know, in that case, you're just gonna do a kind of a
We can do genetic
case
testing
by
on the
case.
tree root and see which
I
tree it
mean,
came from.
Because it'd be,
And then like the city of
Pretty much
Thompson, do you just, I think we've just billed the district because everybody has trees there.
I would think, I'm just
Yeah.
throwing out some
Yeah.
scenarios.
Right. But if we know that a landowner
a
has not taken care of the
clear-cut
issue,
Problem, it's
Then
gonna go
it's-
straight to them.
okay.
Typically with some,
WRP, CRP.
Because I remember we had an issue with a Steve Evenson. He didn't want to take down his trees because he liked them. Well, then what did we do? We didn't do anything. We just let him have his trees.
Is there a tile there that's not working?
Now I don't recall what happened in there, but
Tile.
I don't have a problem with trees growing all over the Quam Wildlife as long as they're not over the top of the district tile.
the roots are still going to find the tile.
if you have it 70 feet away from it, I think you'll be
We
okay.
got it. I've heard they could travel up to 70 feet.
That's, I was thinking 100 feet is where you need to keep them away.
Yeah.
There's.
And when they, okay, so when conservation gets this land, he may not be aware of tile, right?
It's gonna
Because there
have to
could be
from now on.
private tile that he's,
Still their responsibility.
Yes.
And you
And
know,
I would make-
much like the agreements we're having with the NRCS, when they take over land, we need to do the same thing, maybe with the conservation. Be proactive that way, so they are well aware of what their responsibilities are.
Just if they wanna. grow-
most of the time, we don't know about any land they're going to purchase until it's already done.
It's in their minutes.
Yeah, I don't get those.
You don't get those?
Never seen
I'll
one.
forward it to you.
That'd be great.
They're a public entity that you should be able to request to get their minutes
I would think so.
every time.
Yeah, I've never seen one.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it was a private landowner, I'm not picking on conservation.
No, and I'm not either.
Anybody,
I'm not either.
yes,
Yeah.
it's anybody that's not maintenance, it
Right.
causes other people.
Right.
And there's been more than one trustee drain do the same thing. Just tell the landowner, no, that's your problem.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel better. Thank you.
Is there any way to, Adam, is there any way we can extend an agreement process to U.S. Fish and Wildlife too, if they start getting more land? That they have to they aren't gonna wanna do that.
So they wouldn't have to, I know they aren't required to pay assessments, but if you send them a direct bill, wouldn't be required to pay that either.
Well, I think they're required to pay assessments, but they don't.
Well,
So, I mean, I don't. You can send it to them. I'm not
Send it
sure
to
how
them.
we're gonna get
There'll
it.
be another bill that floats around.
Yeah, I don't know how
For a
you're
few
gonna.
years.
It screws up our system and we gotta reassess everybody else for what didn't get paid.
Okay, well, sorry, I should have,
Thanks.
I should have called you last week, or come in last week about this, right? So,
That's okay. Yeah, I just had people call. So, all right.
I got to see the red faces.
Oh, good. Dean Ballvance?
I'm not mentioning names.
Okay. Okay, so we're good? Okay, thank you. You're ready.
Yeah.
Okay,
5 or?
I'm gonna go to the new number 6, you mean, the old number 5?
No.
We switched it.
Okay.
Adam, are you waiting for, the LEC?
This and the LAC.
Oh, this one too, all right,
That's all right, we're just hanging out.
all right.
We don't get to hang out this much very often.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Good to have you.
yeah.
Yes,
I told Allie it wasn't gonna be very long, so she probably thinks I took off for the day.
yeah, well, you know,
Oh,
sometimes a little break is, a little change of pace.
yeah. No, I'm here for, Scott wanted me down here for this, and then I'll be here for the LAC stuff, so.
Okay, well, number 6, discussion with possible action on personnel matters related to county engineer.
Yeah, so, we have sort of over time met with some of you individually to talk about performance and things like that. And Mike recently has voiced his opinion that he thinks we should have a closed session for some things, and I thought we did well talk about, what things we can go into closed session for, if that's something we want to do, certain topics, what we can discuss in just an open discussion during an open meeting, or which things should be more appropriately handled between, each individual supervisor and talking directly to our staff and working some of those things out that way. So maybe you want to voice what you'd like to see, or?
I just think there's some things that need to be settled between the engineer's office and the supervisors. The meeting of one-on-one with different supervisors lends itself to obfuscation at best, in my opinion. And I guess what I would like, what I have to say, I want said in front of the other 2 supervisors, so there's absolutely no way that it be misconstrued of what is said. That's why, and it's my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, it isn't the public's, I don't know if it's their right to know, but they don't need to know the things that go on with personnel.
Yeah, I mean, Scott and I talked about this, and I know Scott talked to Mike Galloway, and I think Mike was consistent with what I told Scott. I mean, to go into closed session, as you guys know, I mean, there are certain exceptions, right? And so if the goal is, Mike, to talk to Scott about Scott's performance and his what he's doing, then it goes on the agenda. Scott has to request it.
Right.
And if you request it, then you go into closed session. But that has to be very, very narrow as to what is going to be discussed. It can't be general policies of the engineer's office. It can't be discussed other employees within the engineer's office. It really has to be solely on Scott's performance. And so if that's the intent, then a closed session is appropriate. If the intent is, well, I want to talk to you about somebody in your office, or I want to talk to you about your general policies, or how you are running that, I don't think that is appropriate. And I think that's what Mike told Scott as well, is that you just got to be careful. Because if it's just general discussions about the office, I don't think that can be closed session. Which leaves really two alternatives. It's discussed in a meeting like this, or it's discussed one-on-one. And I've encouraged Scott, and I think Mike did the same, to try to head these things off one-on-one, if possible. If it's not something that we want discussed in a setting like this. But that's, those are really, closed sessions are, you gotta be very, very careful as to what is being discussed.
So to discuss a policy that affects his performance, you can't do that.
If it's regarding his performance, yes, it's just, you have to.
Well, I believe everything I want to say, and I'm not gonna say it one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because I want the other two to hear it.
If it's his performance, yes. If we're talking, I think, like if you're saying, I think the engineer's office needs to be run this way or that way, no, I don't think that's appropriate in closed session. If it is, Scott, I think you need to change the way you do this or that, then I think you can. General policies of how the engineer's office is run, that's not really related to Scott. That's more how you want the engineer's office to run, whether it's Scott or Jim or whoever. But if it's specific to Scott and what you think he needs to do different, or what you've heard negative, that I think is okay.
Well, it'd be specific to the engineer's position, and so therefore not necessarily Scott. It could be Jim Witt. It could have been Jim Witt.
That's why I think it'd be, so if it's general concerns about how you want the engineer's office to run, it needs to be.
But it affects their performance.
It may, but I'm saying, if you want to go into a closed session, it has to be about Scott's performance, not about how you want the general engineer to run.
In this particular instance, then it would be, because he's allowing that policy to go on.
That's what I mean. So if that's what it is, I think that's appropriate. But if it's just the, hey, I want the engineer's office to run in this fashion, I think that's getting a little off.
Right.
But if it is, hey, Scott, I think you're not doing this appropriate, or you're letting this happen, I think that would be his performance.
Then I think we could go to closed session, in my opinion.
Then we should, then I think.
That's up to you.
And if it's a policy, something I could share with you as a board, we could talk about what the policy is, because, it's my job to enforce the policies that the board adopts. So if it's a matter of a policy that the board doesn't like.
This is how you're handling the policy right now.
The policy is black and white, tells you what to do. So that's what's nice about a policy. The bad part about a policy doesn't give you flexibility in making judgment. Pros and cons.
Policies are always in the eye of the beholder, aren't they? Not supposed to be. It's like in law, they can be interpreted.
Yeah,
why do we have a Supreme Court decision?
Yeah, I agree. Policies are obviously, whoever is enforcing the policy may look at a policy different than the next person. I have a policy on how I handle certain cases. The next county attorney may look at that policy and say, you know what, I don't know if that's the policy that is best for them. So I agree from that standpoint of, a policy can look different to different people.
And the other part of it is some policies, you kind of use their word lackadaisically, is something as you do as a general rule. But, some policies are written and you can follow them black and white pretty well.
I guess, if you want to talk about a public, I have no qualms doing that. I'm just trying to. What do you use? It's up to you.
As long as we don't wander into something that is medically protected or would harm anybody's reputation, I think that.
Well, you see that's in the eye of the beholder.
Sure.
Well, but like I said, it's got to be focused on Scott. That's.
No, he's talking about saying in general session.
That's what I mean, though. In general session, it's really got to be focused on, not somebody else's work.
It's work within the office. So how do you talk about it? We're damned if we do, damned if we don't.
No, I mean, really, there should be, I say should, be a level of trust that these things could be handled on an individual basis.
And what if that's been broken?
Well, and that's the problem. So, but I mean.
And I'm not referring to Scott on that.
No, I know, but I mean, to go into closed session to talk about Scott's performance, but then to veer off and start talking about other people's performance is not okay. Not unless we want to put that on the agenda and have that person here and ask the same thing with Scott. I mean, if you want to talk about my performance or Carla's performance, the same thing would apply. You can do it right now, right here, or if I would like to go into closed session, we'll go into closed session. So, but that's not to talk about Allie's performance in my office. That shouldn't be done through me.
Why would you want to talk about your performance when we have no control over it?
Well, anyone, for example. I mean, take anybody. Take Roberts. Take public health, right? You wouldn't go into closed session with Robert Schwartz to talk about somebody in Robert's office. Not directly about that person. Now, if
he's not handling a situation that affects the whole conservation or whatever, if Scott's not handling a situation that affects the engineer, and we ultimately are responsible in this situation for the engineer's department.
If it's Scott's performance on how he's doing his job, yes. And I understand, Mike, what you're saying is he oversees people, and that's part of his performance. And I agree with you, that can be closed session. But you can't veer off of that and then start talking about specifically, this person and what this person's done. And
so theoretically then, if it's something that we feel that he's not handling within the office with another employee, you can't even bring up that employee?
No, you can, but you can't go on a totally separate
no, I agree with that.
issue with that person.
Right.
But if it's Scott's performance and how he's handling his office and the people underneath him, totally, that is performance, I think the closed session would work. You just have to be just very careful as to how far you get into this other area.
So therefore I'll leave it up to you.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm somewhat disappointed that we can't have candid conversations one-on-one, because I think we could save a lot of sort of dancing around subject matter in an open meeting.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's like the story about the cat that sits on a hot stove. He won't do that again, but he also won't sit on a nice warm stove either in the winter. So, you get burnt once.
Well, the trouble is the conversations can be different.
And that's not a slam against you personally.
I understand.
Okay. And that it extends far beyond the two employees that I'm referring to in engineers. It refers to other people that are involved in the whole situation. And unfortunately, that would have to be talked about in public. It just won't. So, you can leave it alone. I mean, life will go on. So
if there are certain policies that you would like to discuss as a board, I'd be happy to bring them for you. Well, I think you're right. It makes it very clumsy. Number one, because you're a three-man board, none of you can talk outside. Number two, if you're not willing to trust me enough to accurately portray what you say to the rest of the board members and protect your word like that, then it makes it very clumsy, because there's certain subjects that can't be talked about in open or closed sessions.
I agree.
Can you record all three conversations? That way, if anybody has any.
No.
You can't do that either.
That's
kind of a roundabout way of having an open session.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
it was Madison's board that was doing that.
Yeah,
They got reprimanded big time for doing that.
It would be a bad way.
But I don't think that I have misled you or intentionally done that. So I've, except for with the exception of Bill, you two were here when I was hired, and so I would hope to be given the chance.
Okay. All I got. Okay.
on to number 10, discussion with possible action regarding hiring a surveyor for the LEC building.
Is that over there? Are you talking about? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we do need to hire that. We need to have someone survey that regardless of what you guys decide.
Yeah.
The resolution. The question would be, do you want to do the public hearing first and kind of make sure this is the avenue you want to go down before you hire a surveyor?
Why can't we just do like a 99-year lease on the property that's there? I mean, that's what I did with the tower they put on my property.
Well, you can. The problem is if you're going to sell that chunk, you kind of need to know what you're selling.
Sell the whole thing, but you have a lease for the 99.
Well, but I mean, what?
No, you don't.
What little chunk are you gonna? What chunk are you gonna? I mean, I would think whoever's gonna buy that, Mike, would want to know what the parameters are of that chunk, because if they would sell it in the future, you know, there's going to be a question of that lease.
But
so
when you lease the property, you don't have it surveyed. If you sell your house, you don't have it surveyed. You're selling the property.
So take Don and Julie. If they sold their house but wanted to keep that shed, they would survey that shed if their intent was to keep the shed, just that chunk of the shed, but sell their house. They would survey that because they're only going to sell what they're selling. They're keeping that.
Now,
if they're going to lease it, if they're going to sell it, but they want that person to lease that back, that's different.
Right.
If that's what you guys want to do, that whoever is going to buy this agrees that they're going to lease this back to us, that we can get to the access to it and use it.
Parameters of it will be out.
That's fine. That's going to be a little different than the auction is going to have to spell that out specifically, that, you know, it's being sold as is, but you also, you know, are agreeing that this is going to be.
Whatever you're going to do there is going to have to be done around.
Correct. You're going to lease this and that.
Well, either way, it's going to be there. But I would be very surprised if it'll be there in 20 years.
Yeah, but we don't know that. I mean,
I know.
So if that's what you guys want to do, that's fine. Then I would agree with you. You probably don't need it surveyed if you're going to sell it at the auction with the understanding that whoever buys this agrees that this is staying on there, they're leasing it back to us so that we can maintain it and do whatever we need to, and Buffington would know more on that area. That's fine too.
How much are we going to lease it for?
$1. I mean, that's all.
That's what I mean.
And that price right in there too. Yeah.
And that's not specifically in the resolution for today that I had drafted. So I think if that's what you guys are thinking, we probably need to change that. Because I put in the resolution to have it surveyed, that portion surveyed to
me, it's just a headache down the road. It's just if you had a 99-year lease, they know that going into it, $1 lease for 99 years. They know that going into it, and it more likely won't be there 99 years.
Well, I mean, obviously we have to record it so that if whoever buys it sells it in the future, that anyone else knows if there is this lease there, right? I mean, we would want to do that, so there would be. It doesn't matter. I think either way it works. It's just whatever, you know.
I mean, if we separate it off, we're going to have to build an abstract. We're going to have to survey it.
We have to survey it because we want to get a legal description, and then we would sell everything but the little chunk.
Right. So we'd have to build an abstract for that chunk.
Yeah, there would be an abstract.
You're going to run $2,000 to $3,000, whereas if people know up front, this is, you know,
it'd be the same to them either way. You have to go around it. Whatever is the simplest would be.
Yeah, we would actually, you'd probably want a lease, but also an access easement. You know, because we would want to be able to get to it. You know, so that's certainly I can make that.
By law, you have to allow access.
So then we'd have to pay whoever buys it money to.
$1. It would be one for a 99-year lease.
It would be essentially we would sell it, and that would all go through with the agreement that they're going to enter into a lease to lease that back to us. So it's two separate transactions. I mean, there'd be an auction, a sale, and then there would also be a lease on the flip side, because you can't enter into a lease right now until you know who buys it.
Yeah.
The new owner or the new proprietor, I should say, of that property knows that tower is gonna be there, whether they lease it to us or whether we own the property, one of the two. So it's gonna be they're gonna have that reflection in what they do with the property.
Do we identify who owns the equipment?
Doesn't matter, right?
You put whatever you want on your leased property.
So when we're done leasing it, do we take the tower with us, or do we
Leave them with it.
do they have it? I mean, that's one of the things we should identify.
It's our property, but the county owns it.
Yeah, but if that tower becomes.
That's a question for Andy. I mean, really, does he want it? When they don't need that anymore, do they want, I mean, is it worth?
He won't want it.
Is it worth to take it or not? If it's not,
Is it
then.
our responsibility to take it down, or is it gonna be the new landowner's responsibility to take it down? I suppose that has to be in there too.
Yeah.
That,
I mean, we would need to.
Down to what point? Kind of go back to the wind turbine thing.
yeah, how far below we're gonna go, yeah.
But that's what we're thinking we want to do, then I should change the resolution that was for today to approve, put it back to next Tuesday, because we want to make sure that this resolution for the public hearing, that we give the public an accurate sense of what we're thinking.
Do we know what we want on this? Can we pass a resolution with certain changes?
Well, I emailed it to Carla, so she could certainly take that part out. I mean, Carla can make a change there, and you can still sign it today. I think what I have in there, the paragraph I have, that I think it just said we would survey it, so we just take that part out. Do you have the most current one?
I think it's in our best interest to keep moving forward.
Yeah, another week delay or another week delay.
And I just put in here a date to be determined for the auction. We don't need to know the date yet. I mean, obviously, it's going to depend on who you hire for an auction and how much marketing you want to do and all that. So, I just put.
In this change, are we going to put in there that there will be a lease on?
Yeah, I'm going to add that in here right here.
This is all the open forum here.
Yeah.
This one?
Is it just a,
Power generator.
is it a cement slab that it all sits on?
I'm sure
What
there's
is it?
footings, I'm sure.
Okay.
Maybe it's tied to the building, I don't know. I've never looked.
Is it the commission, the Emergency Management Commission? Is that the one who,
The 911.
commission?
But it's the county that owns the land.
Yeah.
But the lease would be
Well, I just want to describe it in here. I mean,
utilized.
who we put on the lease, that doesn't matter.
Okay.
Well, so I put, right to reject all bids, and buyer will agree to lease back to the county the land that is currently used by the 911 Commission.
For
that,
for 99 years.
I mean, but that's description wise, sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to include generator.
And any equipment?
Well, a lawyer for them would probably say you could classify the building as necessary to run it, so whatever's necessary to run the tower, I don't know. People don't be mostly lawyers.
All right, we'll take a look at that then. So I took out after reject all bids, so and then it goes down here. See if that is, so buyer will agree to lease back to the county the land that is currently used by an own commission for its generator for $1 per years. And like I said, this is just for
Generator and tower.
The tower's the important part.
Well, I keep in mind, this is just for the public hearing.
Yeah.
For,
And then,
we put public hearing for September 12th.
do you have to put in there about access?
No, not for this. We will eventually. When we get into the lease, we will. This, for just this purpose, I think we can just put this.
They'll know it's coming.
And then on September 12th, I mean, if this is what you guys formally decide to do, then we can work on the lease. But we're gonna hire the auctioneer, and I'll do a lot of stuff as well.
And it starts here, up there.
Yeah, so the buyer. And then based on the notices, Carl will get it out in the paper this week, so we can do the hearing on the 12th. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for the method and process of the sale of the former LEC building land.
Motion from Derby and second from Stensrud to approve the resolution for the method and process of the sale of the former LEC building and land. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
So we don't need to hire.
No, we don't need, and we don't want to hire an auctioneer until after the 12th.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I mean, if the public comes in on the 12th and brings up some other idea that you guys decide, hey, that's a better idea, we're not locked in here. This is just telling the public, this is what you guys are planning at the moment, but we're not locked in. We can change, we can, if some other great idea comes about, we can do that, so. Make sense?
Yep. Okay, then number 12, set a public hearing date for the method and process of sale of the former LEC building and land.
And that's in there, September
12th.
10:30
a.m.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing date for the method and process of the sale of the former LEC building land for September 12th at 10:30 a.m.
Second.
Motion from Derby, second from Stensrud to set the public hearing date for the method and process of sale of the former LEC building and land to September 12th at 10:30 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, the open forum is basically already done.
It's on play.
Go back, get back here and stuff.
Yeah, that would be material too.
Oh, yes.
Terry can use the phone second. Good. My computer's still acting up.
Hello?
Hi, can you come back up? My computer's still doing something goofy.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. See you back.
It's got this weird thing on it.
process of borrowing money to make a purchase? Would it be from another entity or from ourselves?
Depends on
We have
what you're.
$18 million in treasurer's fund, or is that the total treasurer's fund, is that?
That,
No, that's plus. Treasurer's fund is $18 million.
that's the total of everything.
No, there's the total of everything.
I don't know what that is. I honestly don't know what.
To me, that's her investments in through the bank.
No,
and stuff.
there's not that. There's,
There's not that kind of money laying around?
no.
There's $15 million in the UR2 fund.
But that's not technically there either. Some of that's escrow, some of it's,
Okay. It's not cash on hand as it says.
right.
We get 12 million, or 12,000, I guess.
That's negative.
Otherwise, everything else is fairly small. Got to get to that last page. That's the confusing part. Because treasurer's cash is over here, and auditor's cash is over here. And then treasurer's cash showed that, auditor's cash showed that. So there's outstanding bills for that skid loader of that, right?
Yep.
Okay. That means the check's been written, or that means...
It means it's been written.
Okay. $1.2 million written here.
And I would say that that's probably the sum of everything
There she is.
that's in this
Hey, got a
middle.
question for you.
Yeah. She doesn't see this report though. But
Okay, so explain to me on this report, we got auditor's cash, treasurer's cash, that 19 and 18 million dollars, what does that identify?
This here identifies everything. It's
The
all
bottom line.
this here. Treasurer's fund. That.
What's
what
that
do you-
identify then?
This is total, grand total.
it's kind of deceiving.
Yeah, really deceiving right
It is
now.
deceiving because this is all of the money that's in all of her drains too.
Right,
The drainage
Well,
that
it's all here.
what we
It's
have
all here.
probably wrapped in stamped warrants.
but I'm trying to understand what your treasurer's funds line is. Because what you're trying to tell me is, this includes all of this, but so does this, and then you're doubling it.
Right. And it's not a report that,
Well,
if you really wanted to know, I would print you a general ledger. This is just the cash and investments.
This number, for whatever reason, is double that number every time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
What-
just the way the accounting works.
Really?
I mean, you need to pay attention to each of these versus these
Yeah.
last two.
Well, these last numbers really don't mean much. These are the real ones.
Right.
The real number is what I have in the bank,
Well, yeah, that's,
and I don't care what secondary road says he has here, 215,000. So when he writes the check, or we're supposed to write the check for 111,000 to pay Harrison Ford, in my bank account right now, we have 97,000. That's my problem. I have
Wait a second.
97,000 in the main account where payroll, any claims come through, any bills, anything gets paid out of this main account.
But it was my
I have a
understanding,
main-
the way it was explained was that
He has
this
it in the
fund had to
fund.
do, yeah.
He has it in the fund, but that's not what and nobody hears me. Nobody listens to me when I say, my bank account only has X
Well,
amount of
that's what I was
dollars.
trying to allude to there.
But
Okay?
he don't get it, because he thinks because he budgeted it for it, and he has the money in his fund, that we have the money in the bank, and we don't.
But what's in your sweep account?
But then in my sweep account, every day when we have more claims come through, we can sweep money over. So today, in my sweep account, we have $1,929,000. Okay? But we have payroll that comes out of there twice a month. You know, we have all the other claims that come out of there. We have about 200 and some thousand that go to the state of Iowa every month for the work that we are bringing in. That's their money that's sitting here too that we can't claim.
That should be a wash.
Yeah, it should be, but you know, it's still sitting, it's just sitting in here, so it looks like we have it, but we really don't, because it has to go back to the state. You know, and I know.
What you just said there on that sweep account, we're gonna be okay, maybe.
Yeah, but that's what we have.
No,
That's all we
that.
have.
I know that.
Mm-hmm. That's all we have, because all the other funds are individually funded by the sheriff's department, the conservation. I'm not touching those funds. That money I'm not gonna bring into the general use for me because I want a new desk, or Scott because he needs a new pickup, or Carla because she needs a new outfit. You know, we're not gonna do it.
So why should we rob,
right.
If his account, why should we rob Scott's account?
He doesn't
He's
have
only
his
sitting with
own.
97,000, you say?
No.
And there should be, no?
He doesn't have his own bank account,
No,
secondary.
I know, but fund.
He has a fund
Yeah.
of 215,000.
And if we have budgeted, this is for my information,
Yeah.
though, I'm not criticizing. So if we budgeted his fund for that, why shouldn't that be available?
We haven't got that yet, have we?
You tell me.
Adams
We
wrote them like
spent
6
way too
letters.
much money on the LEC.
changing what they
We spent
want.
money on, you know, we've got all this drainage money that's going out.
Okay.
The county is just hurting
I
because
know
we've
it.
had a lot of
Yep.
expenses. And so that's why when you asked all of us to cut our budgets, there was a reason to do that, was to cut our budgets, which means no extra spending through the year. Tried to build up, well, Carla, the general fund. You came to me worried that the general fund only had how much, like $354 the last time we talked. And the nurses want 243,000 of that.
We're not transferring the nurses' money till.
Well, we don't have it.
That's right.
You know, so that's what I've been trying to tell everybody is,
Yep.
if we had an emergency, if something terrible happened, I don't have cash flow, I don't have operating funds. The operating funds we have is what's coming in right now with the taxpayers. And the taxpayers are mad.
Why don't
And
we,
people all want to leave. They're going to Mason City because they can buy nicer property there and pay less in tax. You know, so I'm hearing the disgruntled, and I hear it when I walk down the street. And then when they see this in the paper, and then they're like, oh, yeah, mm-hmm.
wait till
It's like,
next year.
I can't help it. I tell them, but
Sure. If they have questions about our department, you can shoot them down to our office.
I will.
We have, I just wanted to point out too that we have about 200,000 in road use tax that is probably sitting somewhere ready to be posted.
okay.
So that puts us at about 450. You know, so we're already kind of digging our way out of it, and we'll have the transfers too. And as he said, we might not pay that till February. So.
Right, but my concern
Are you
is,
doing an auction in the spring for sure then?
That's the plan. We do have quite a few pieces
I
of
would highly
machinery.
suggest it, so that
Yeah.
help our.
As far as I know.
and maybe I shouldn't be worried about it, but I think somebody needs to be worried about it, and I'm the one that has to sit there and say, hey, you know, we can't do payroll, and we've been in that situation where we didn't have money to do payroll. How do you tell your office we can't pay payroll?
When did that happen?
What was that, 2 years ago, when Elizabeth got, we were really, really hitting short? You probably didn't know, but we had a meeting with Elizabeth from Gardner and Thompson and Scott, and, I mean, it's not just secondary road, it was that we just didn't have money coming in.
Yeah.
And the bills were still coming, it's that timing issue that we seem to fall into a problem, and every year it's getting to be a longer period. But I'm not saying it's just them, everybody spends, you know, and we're just getting hit because you got all the stuff going on with this courthouse and the LEC, and